Hello, my name is Ronith.
And my name is Rikhil, and this is our game, Formula Racer. The point of this game is to get the fastest lap time by racing an image of a car around the track without hitting any barriers. The formula part of this game is when the game dispenses car values such as the weight of the car, which will then be used to calculate the answers to the formulas. This is in the race setup panel.
As you can see in the start panel, there is a background image. This background image is read using file IO. Now, the try-catch blocks are used in order to catch any exceptions. This string is drawn using a specific font, a font object. Now, this font object is used for all the strings drawn on panels, as you can see in this code right here. Next, the user must click the Help button in order to go to the Help panel. In the Help panel, there are directions. These directions will help the user start the car and help the user understand how to move him. As well as these directions, you can also see these formulas on screen here. These formulas will be used in the tuning of the car to get the lowest lap time possible. Next, the user must click the Start button.
This will lead you to the car statistics panel. In the car statistics panel, you get randomly generated values, which will show up and allow for the user to use them in getting the answer to the formulas in the next panel.
These values are created using math.random methods, as can be seen right here. This math.random method gets the front limit. Now, this int is data casting to convert from a double to an int. Next is the race setup panel. This is the race setup panel. There are 4 text fields in this panel. The user can enter in the front spring pressure, the rear spring pressure, the front roll bar value, and the rear downforce value, respectively, as you can see by the J labels above each text field. Now, the user must enter in correct values using the weight distribution values as seen previously in the car statistics panel. Now, the car's weight is 2,888, and the front weight distribution is 56. Now, using the formulas in the Help panel, we can see that in order to get the front mass of the car, we need to multiply those two values and divide by 6,400. Now, once we get the front mass, we can multiply the front mass by 31.193 in order to finally get the front spring pressure. Now, all this calculated becomes 788 rounded as an integer.
However, if the user does not put an integer, and if they put a string instead, then this code will negate that, and this will register as 0.0, or the basic value. This is the same if you don't put anything on the panel. So, if you say hello, for instance, this will be registered as nothing. And to test if this one is right and this one's wrong, we're going to put a wrong answer here. 3,788. And this is clearly wrong, and here we're not even going to put anything to check if it registers as 0. Next, we go to the race panel. Here, the user has to press the mouse to start the engine or request focus. Now, the user has to make this car go around the track by pressing the keys to turn the car while the car moves itself. The user has to move the car around the whole track without hitting the barrier once. And then this is how you'll register the time. This is an example of how it works. So I'm pressing the keys, and this is steering the car by 15 degrees every time. These are all put in the paint component method. And then now we're in the results screen.
Now, in the results screen, the final lap time is shown. So if you got the answer correct, it will show that your input is correct and tell you that you received a time reduction, as can be seen right here. However, if you enter it in, say, a string, it will register as nothing happened and no error will occur. Therefore, you will receive no penalty and will be fine. However, if you enter in an incorrect value, then you will receive a time penalty. Now, as previously mentioned, there were text fields. These text fields, as you can see, there were text fields. Now, these text fields can be seen getting user input. So we got user input using getText methods, as you can see in this code here. Also, magic numbers were never used. We used final variables in order to recognize any constants that were there throughout the game. Now, we also, in the paint components, used graphics G as a way to pass a parameter that was necessary for the code. In our control structures, we used if-else in order to indicate when the lap time would increase or decrease depending on if the user got the answer correct for the tuning. Now, the mouse event interface. So, mouse events were used in order to start the car. So, when the mouse was clicked, the car engine would start. This modulus is used in order to tell whether the user has clicked the mouse for the first time in order to start the car. This request focus is in order to ensure that the right and left keys were still being looked at by the computer. Now, we got multiple pieces of advice from the user. So, one of these pieces of advice is that the car was too slow and it was not challenging enough. We changed this by changing the increment of the X value whenever the car was moving. This made the car go much faster and made the overall game much more difficult.
The next advice was the rotation of the car. Here, initially, we controlled all phases of the car with all four arrow keys. But here, we made it so that the car moves itself so that we can focus mainly on the rotation instead of just the movement of the car. Previously, the car was just moving by itself in one direction, while looking in one direction. However, now, since we made the car move itself, we can focus more heavily on the rotation, and this allowed for way smoother inputs.
Thank you. This is our presentation for
FormulaRacer.java.
Alright.